This meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to item number 3, public comment. There are no requests for public comment. Moving on to item 4, approval of the July 6, 2023 Infrastructure Committee meeting minutes. I have a motion by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Seubert. Are there any further discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, there are no policy issue discussion. Item number 6, operational functions, none. Item number 7, educational presentation and committee discussion. Item A, current broadband project update and upcoming grant overview and county options. Supervisor Robinson and Jerry Klein.
So I sent to David some maps that will help the discussion this morning, but for context, as we've been talking about, there's $42.5 billion available for the broadband equity and access deployment program, of which 1,055 million will come to the state of Wisconsin for distribution over the next 5 years. Based on numbers that we've gotten through the Public Service Commission, there are 55,503 broadband serviceable locations in Marathon County, of which about 40,060 are served, and there's about 27% are either unserved, which means less than 3 megabytes per second down and up, or underserved, less than 120. 808,181 underserved, and basically 7,000 unserved. And so when we look at where we are, is that the?
That's where we are.
Yeah, you can leave those maps.
In there somewhere.
Leave the packet map up.
You just unplugged the computer.
Oh, you were using that. I thought you were using your own. Sorry. I thought you were using your own.
So if we go into the maps, and I think a good place to start is looking at the original Rural Digital Opportunity Fund map for the county. And when you look at the Federal Communication Commission had identified unserved areas and went to a reverse auction several years ago, and they basically you bid down and requested less of a government subsidy to extend gigabyte service to certain areas. And in Marathon County, we had 2 players, Charter Communications, Spectrum, and then LTD Broadband out of Minnesota. LTD Broadband received $1.3 billion out of $9.9 billion awarded through FCC on a national basis, but FCC had some concerns over their ability to perform the work and later disqualified them. However, the area in orange or red on the screen was basically the area that LTD was going to provide that service to. And as a result of their being in this sort of pre-approval stage, those areas were not eligible for funding through a number of grant application periods, and they continue to be concerned. But if you look at that, Charter is advancing into their areas. They've got a 6-year period of time in which to complete the work, but the orange or red area was not covered when LTD was let go. Do you want to bring up the next map then, Jerry? So this is the northwest part of the county. Again, understanding that that LTD was going to serve a good portion of that, and the circle areas are those areas that would be served by Bug Tussle with their wireless. Potentially, it would not meet the 120, but would provide approximately 40 megabytes per second of service, and there may be ways of enhancing it. The red is basically where their fiber networks will be deployed. And there are a few smatterings of green, which is where Frontier is proposing to add service. But we will be trying to work with, the purpose of these maps is to really identify those areas that are underserved. And again, we as a county don't provide the service. We work with internet service providers. So we'll be looking at how can we work with internet service providers in the Bern, Halsey, Holton, Reed Brock, Rib Falls, Wayne area in this map to try to expand service. And again, Charter will be serving part of it. Other carriers will be coming in, but we're at the Broadband Task Force beginning to look at trying to identify those areas that are underserved, taking advantage of that money that'll be flowing in, and trying to break down the areas that are in greatest need. If you want to move to the next map, go ahead.
Just one of the, John's talking about these red lines, these are the Bug Tussle fiber. Here, you can see Reed Brock and River Falls is not covered by Charter, not covered by fiber, and at least with these numbers, it's not covered very well, although there's some other providers in the space. So these would be most obvious ones. When you look at a piece like Wayne here, you can see that this fiber path is the Bug Tussle fiber path, and they have committed to supporting everybody within 100 feet of this, but there's still a lot unserved area here. And the last thing, so the thing I want to point out before I left it is, I've had a couple of phone calls from people in this area, and this is kind of a gap area that's not covered by anybody. And there's actually a fairly large amount of subdivisions in here. There are these areas of the main school feature. Oh, yeah. But I wanted to point that out because that is a very fair amount of houses in it.
You want to point out the Charter? That's that shaded, or the light?
Yeah, Charter is, this is a little bit different color here. It's a little hard to see on this monitor, but Charter's committed to supporting, to doing fiber to the home to all of this orange, light orange area and this area up here. But you can see they stop. Nobody's covering this piece in here. And there's a fair amount of houses in there. This is also super hilly, so it's not going to be easily served by Wi-Fi. If you're familiar with it, they actually call one of these, one of the roads here is got a local nickname. It's like Billy Goat Hill. Yeah, that's right here in this area. Their fiber's actually coming up and down Billy Goat Hill, actually. That's this road right there. But this whole area is pretty hilly, and it's got a lot of houses in it. So it'd be a really good target area for us to try to find a partner on.
Do you want to move then to the next slide? What we're trying to do is just give you an overview of where we see some of the gaps. And then we'll be working with the Broadband Task Force to try to prioritize some of those and develop recommendations to bring back. And this would be the southwest portion. Again, Charter has some of that area in the shaded. Bug Tussle will be providing wireless, and you'll be running some of their fiber through the area. Frontier will be bringing fiber to the premise, and again, those green dots. We've got some areas where we've got additional work and concern in Spencer, McMillan, Green Valley, Emmett. If you want to move to the next. And this would be in the southwest or southeast portion of the county, and this reflects what Serenity has, or Woodburg-Tal. I don't know that we've caught all of their historic fiber. I think we've got most of it, but you'll see in the Knowlton, Cronewater, Gunther area, Buck Tesla has a fiber project that'll be going in next week or next year. They're laying the middle mile this year, and they'll be serving that area with fiber to the premise.
That's this area right here, this coloring, all these red lines, and the Serenity stuff that John was just talking about, is all this purple stuff right here.
And so we've got better coverage there. And Frontier is proposing to serve a good portion of that area and upgrade their service, but we still have some gaps.
Now, this does not have Frontier's grant stuff on it, but they have they are proposing to cover quite a bit of stuff in this area right here.
I think the green,
This is still a gap, this little spot. Right where Eric Budleski is from the task force. His house is still a gap. But he's really getting close. The Serenity keeps moving this way, so we'll probably get resolved soon.
next slide. And then finally, this would be the northeast portion of the county, and we, again, Frontier is going to serve a good portion of it. I know that Serenity is doing some work in the Antigo area, and I would hope that they would look at doing some work up in that northeast corner. But we still have some gaps in Texas and a few spots in Wausau.
This is this little L shape right here is probably the biggest gap area out here. Frontier has a lot of, if they're successful in completing an area, they have this area filled in heavily, and then they fill in a whole other area over here, but there's really nobody in this little space right here. Not little, but those 4 sections.
So again, we're in the process of trying to develop a plan. We're trying to get access to the federal data. We've done some workarounds working through the state. I think we need to verify the data for the fabric map that FCC and NTIA have developed, and if need be, challenge it. But later this year, the state will be developing a plan for the first year, the initial plan, with about 20% of the state dollars, and then they'll be developing a final plan. Later, there will be a public comment period. We're anticipating that plan may be available late this month for public comment, and we'll be looking at that plan and trying to figure out what areas we should be trying to work with, again, the internet service providers to expand service.
I think the most important point is there's a lot of money on the table. There's a $1.05 billion that the state of Wisconsin is going to distribute for broadband basically over the next 2 years. So it's if we want to get involved in it, we need to be aggressive and know exactly where we want to target, the areas we want to target, and try to get as much of that money as we can.
Thanks for the presentation. Chair Gibbs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the presentation. The one question I have is, we've sat there and we've tried to challenge where the BEAD maps are still inaccurate. Where do we sit on that challenge and the ability to actually enter into a bulk challenge?
Well, I guess, Jerry, if you have better information, I mean, the first step is signing the agreement with the kind of holder of the data that underlies the maps, and the second part is really having somebody lead the effort to get those challenges, whether they're individual household challenges or how they're going to challenges be entered, getting that person on board, and that's the county board approved that utilization of funds for a position.
And I'm working with Sue Fox to get that recruitment going. We were going back and forth on some draft language. Whereas,
Yeah, I think right now it's
the
a staff
ClassQuest
event.
license, Michael and I and Lance worked on it. We got him to change the language that at least said it would be consistent with the state of Wisconsin open records law, but they didn't change anything else. And I don't know if Michael got back to you, but he and I talked last week and said we'll let Lance know, go ahead and sign it. It's as good as we're going to get it.
Yeah, essentially that's the message. It's as good as we're going to get it. It's not really giving us certainly not everything we wanted.
Yeah.
But we did address a couple of legal issues.
The biggest problem is we'll have access to pull the data now. We just can't do anything publicly with it, which is really not helpful. Like I won't be able to take data from that and put it in this meeting to show you guys.
Additional questions or comments? There's only one that I had, and that is kind of where is bug tussle percentage-wise with fiber and towers?
John, do you want me to bring up that meeting?
If you want to bring that up, they've got 10 towers that are live. And you received the report, but that was as of May. They've, I think since that report came out, added 3 towers. They were having some issues with collapsing of the conduit when they put the conduit in first, and then they string the fiber later, and sometimes there'll be compression because vehicles run over it or other reasons, and they were dealing with that. They brought in additional crews from Waushara County, and they're moving ahead. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we're hopeful that late this year, early next year, all of the towers will be active and most of the fiber installed, and then they'll start doing the hookups to the residents and the businesses along the way. But the 10 of those towers are active. Most of those are on the east side of, or a majority of them are on the east side of the county, and I think they were trying to get some of the links from Abbotsford into Athens and other things. That's from their last report, correct?
Yeah, these are the towers. The green ones are the lit up towers. So people within about, maybe a 2-ish mile radius of those green towers, they can order service from them now. And then the next page down, I think, is the fiber one.
And I believe Bass Lake and Shepherd Road and others were active.
Here's the fiber. Here's the fiber work. This is not actually completely up to date. I found out that personally. So this has conduit in. This is conduit. This is conduit. This has fiber in, but it's not lit up. This is the piece where they were having problems. Right in here, they had some problems trying to pull in the microduct fiber. And the big problem that is all of this stuff could be lit up all the way over to here because they're going to buy internet service from a partner in Abbotsford. And so once they can get this little piece working properly, then they light this up all the way over to the Brokaw Tower and can start selling fiber service to the home to anyone along that route. So that's a big key issue. This map doesn't show it. This yellow here that shows when the fiber's in is now down to about here. They had crews in front of Aspirus a week ago, right here. They're trying to get to a tower here that they serve, that they have AT&T on, so they're trying to work their way out to the industrial park. I haven't been out there in the last week and a half, so they probably are somewhere along here right now. And then I think their next priority is to start working on some of this stuff over here.
All right, thank you.
So the core issue is nothing is lit up with fiber. Not a single house in Marathon County is currently live on their fiber. They have customers on their wireless solution, but none of this is done yet.
All right. Well, thank you for the update. Yes, Lance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jerry, do you want to touch on the fact that, you do have a CIP project in for consideration, and we'll be talking about it with HR Finance later next week in the full board relative to lighting up some of that fiber that we reserved through our agreement with Bug Tussle?
Yeah, I will. And in all of the fiber that they have here, they have 196 count fiber. When we negotiated the deal with them to help underwrite their loan of $22 million, Michael was instrumental in that. We negotiated 24 strands of all of this fiber as available to the county. We have 10 years to use it, and if we don't use all of it in 10 years, we drop down to 12 strands, which is still fine. We have 14 towers that we broadcast public safety on. That are not on this map, but much of this route was planned to catch as many of those as possible. I think we ended up catching 11 of them. So we'll have fiber to our microwave towers, 11 of our 14 connections. So those are water towers, and it's a variety of things. It's a couple of water towers. We own 2 really large towers, if you're not familiar with it. We have a very large tower right here, a 280-foot tower, and then we have a 280-foot tower. I gotta find myself here. Right. Nope, right here, in this corner. I submitted an ARPA request, which then was changed and added to the CIP request for to buy the electronics to light up this piece over here as phase 1. And I think, Lance, you might have to help me. I think it's $270,000. Does that sound familiar to you? I think it's $270,000 worth of lighting this stuff up to get to all of the towers that we have over here. And then I submitted it and said, if we get that done and we're happy with it, we would look for future funding to light up this section here and this section over here. Questions on that?
It's 274,000 was your request,
you.
Jerry. And I
That's
just
close.
wanted to highlight the importance of that. If you have seen in the news recently, you see other governments, whether they're cities or counties, the investment that local governments have in their radio, emergency radio systems is substantial. If you sit down and look at it, you start to get heart palpitations when you think about it. It's a lot of money. Just for some context, the city of Milwaukee is doing some upgrade work, and they're asking for $8 million from the federal government to help assist in it. So it's a substantial investment for us. With our terrain and our size, it's even more so. So we have, as Jerry said, that investment in towers, the investment in microwave equipment, the investment in, through our agreement, the dark fiber currently.
Yeah.
And we've structured some of those agreements, I think, in pretty innovative ways in the last 5 years.
Yeah, we've been looking for partnerships wherever we can.
Yeah.
The microwave links we have right now, we have 4 big ones and then about 12 little ones. We have 100, the monopole out in the courthouse. There's a 150 meg link on microwave that goes up to the top of Rib Mountain. There's another alternate route that goes over to Elm Street and up to Rib Mountain. And then from the top of Rib Mountain, there's a big microwave link that goes over to here. These are those 6-foot dishes that you see, like the old school ones. These are big monsters. They're pretty high speed. There's one that goes this way, and then there's one from Rib Mountain that goes over to this way. Those are the big ones. Those are 150 meg links. Those are hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they need to be replaced every 7 to 10 years. And we have 2 of them because of being in public safety, it has to have full redundancy. So at this link, there's actually 2 big microwave links this way and 2 big microwave links this way. What I want to do is work with the engineering companies as we get this fiber in and start to light it up, and make the fiber path the primary, and then microwave as the redundant path, and then lower the microwave size to small ones that are a lot lower speed as our backups. And what that does is over the next 30 years, it significantly lowers the county's investment as those microwave links have to be replaced.
Thanks, Jerry.
I'm looking long term, way after I'm not here.
We also have, as part of our agreement with Bug Tesla, 6 feet on their towers. So as we identify additional needs relative to public safety or communications, we can access their towers at no cost, at the cost of our capital and other things. That was another attractive part of our agreement with Bug Tesla.
Awesome. Thanks for the update. Any additional questions or comments from anyone? All right, well, thank you for that. Moving on then to item 7B, Highway Summer Construction Update.
Okay. Jim had a memo in your packets with kind of an update, little briefing on all the projects that we have in there. Chairman, would you like me to go through all those or just take questions on them?
Yeah, if you want to briefly just hit the highlights, that'd be good.
Okay. Our paving crew, basically our 2 biggest stretches of Road Highway S and O this year, varying levels of mill and overlays to full pulverized and pavement replacement. Highway S was the one we took on first. That one is completed. The last thing we have to do is some striping on about a 3.5 mile section. Highway O, all of our milling is complete, and the crews started paving this week south of 153. So they're going to wrap that up on Monday and then start heading north from 153 up to Double N. Part of that project, there is a large metal culvert that's on Highway O in the town of Marathon. That's getting replaced with a box culvert, so we closed that road up this morning starting, and that box culvert should be set next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So that we'll do that just in front of the paving project. Paving, then once they get done with Highway O, we have a mill and overlay on Highway B going from Marathon to N, and part of that involves that about 2.5 blocks of some reconstruction that we're doing before that jurisdictional transfer that you guys had approved earlier. Construction, that should wrap up most of our paving work that's out there. Our construction crew that's putting in that box culvert, they finished up all their culvert aid projects last week. So that we had about, I think we had 7 projects for municipalities that were part of bridge and culvert aid, so ranging from triple 13-foot aluminum pipes to a couple 5-foot pipes that they had put in. So we do that as a partnership with those municipalities that are in the bridge aid program. So we bring that bridge aid resolution that will come through again next month in September with those completed projects. Bridge crew is working up on Highway H in Halsey. They have a bridge that they started right after school got out. They're working on the superstructure right now, so they have the abutments in and getting ready for a deck pour out there. Our mowing has made it through everything, and they got the first round cut on everything. From here on out, we'll kind of watch to see how the growing season goes and then mow for any safety issues that might come up, intersections and spots where there's visibility. Maintenance crews that did that mowing moved on to crack filling and shoulder maintenance now. Highway K project, that's a contracted project with a partnership with the state on that one. They are behind schedule, but they're moving along. Curb and gutter was going in yesterday at a bunch of intersections. Paving started yesterday on that. The Highway K project itself should be substantially completed at the end of this month, where they're paving and a lot of the intersections are done. The Highway WW project there are 2 separate contracts for that. That one is, they're anticipating that one being a few weeks behind, probably in September. So we're going to be setting up a meeting with the Village of Maine and the schools to get a traffic control plan set for up there, because they know that they're going to have to deal with traffic once school gets in. So we want to sit down with them ahead of time and get a little bit of a game plan together. Our shop, they're busy keeping the fleet going. We are still down a couple mechanics, and we've got a couple younger ones that are still learning the process in there, but they're kind of triaging and taking care of the bigger equipment that needs to get done, and we're outsourcing a few things as needed to keep our fleet going. We have an RFP out right now for engineering services. That is for the intersection of Ross Avenue and Camp Phillips Road. That was a partnership project with the Village of Weston. We're looking to do a reconstruction there. It's kind of a substandard, it's a 4-lane on X and a 2-lane on Ross Avenue, and it lacks turn lanes and has a lot of local traffic and a lot of industrial traffic with the little business park up there. So there's a lot of semis going through this kind of a small intersection. So we're working on getting engineering firms set up for that, and then along with that was at Highway J and N intersection. We were awarded safety funds through the state to reconstruct that from a 2-way stop to a 4-way, and that's included in that RFP that's out right now. In the background, we're still applying for funding for long-term stuff through state grants, and then on some of these projects, with a lot of the costs were done 2, 3, and 4 years ago. So with the recent inflation, those projects, some of them are coming in over. So we coordinate with the state whenever we can recapture and adjust and get our 80% funding on those. We go after that whenever we can on projects. It was a long briefing. A lot of projects.
Wasn't bad at all. Any questions or comments for Kevin? All right. Thank you. Moving on then to item 7C, CCIT projects. Jerry Klein.
The packet, you should have it in your packet. Hopefully I didn't double check the packet, but our active projects are in there. We're still working on a lot of wrapping up the budget portion, the budget module for Workday, obviously for 2024 budgeting. That's pretty critical. It's supposed to go live week, I think the end of next week. We pretty much have wrapped up pulling all of the data out of our Kyantis system, our old financial system, so we can shut that down. It's running in the background with very restricted access right now because we're still waiting for the auditors to give us a couple of changes that they want done to wrap up that will be recorded as 12/31/2022. I think I was supposed to get those last week. We may have got them, and I haven't seen an update. Did we finish? Okay, good. As soon as hopefully they received them last week, they'll apply those. Those are basically journal entries in our financial system that'll be in the 2022 financial system. As soon as that's done, we'll do one more export out of there, and then we'll shut that system down. We'll import that data into Workday and its Prism module, and that'll be a big hit for me. It's important that we get that system down because the option to keep it running was super expensive. So Workday is basically focused on those two pieces right now. This fall is going to be, we're going to shift gears as soon as we wrap up this budgeting and financial piece and reporting on that. We're going to really start shifting gears into benefits. We've got a fair amount to do. We need to get ready for benefit enrollment. The county's looking at other options for health insurance carriers, so we've got to, it'll end up being very tight. That decision will probably be made when I would want it made. So we'll have to get as much done as we can in a short window of time so we can do benefit enrollment properly to get that done in Workday. And then we have some stuff to do on getting ready for the county's annual performance reviews, which will be done in Workday for the first time. They'll start around October-ish. So by the middle of October, for sure, we need to go through that. I just went through it with my team because we do our annuals in June and July. And I made a list of stuff that we're going to need to make changes to before the county can use it. That's Workday. All of the equipment for the county courtrooms has been ordered. They are scheduling installs. They've got, I think, 3 of the courtrooms are scheduled. Typically what they're doing is they're finding out our project manager is going to the judge and saying, when are you taking vacation in the next 2 months? And looking for a week where the judge is on vacation, and then working with the 2 contractors that need to do all the wiring installs to say, can you work that week? And so I think Tammy's got 3 of them booked, and they have a meeting this afternoon, I think, to try to get the other 3 booked. So that'll be, all of the courtrooms will be set up the same as, we did a pilot, if you recall, last year. We did courtroom B and what's now 2. No, 5. It was 2. Now it's 5. What's 5? Those are done. The judges that are using those are happy with them, and so we're basically taking that pilot and doing it to all the other ones. We made 2 adjustments from that. One was to add another microphone on the Guardian ad litem desk, which wasn't originally in the plan, so we had a scope change to add that, and then we added a very small monitor at the last minute on the witness's desk, because in a couple of the courtrooms the witness sits here and the monitor that everyone else is using is behind the witness. It's a big one. It's like an 80-inch monitor, but it's literally on the wall behind the witness station in a couple of the courtrooms. So if they're talking to a witness and saying, can you look at this video or document, it's not convenient for them to spin around and look behind them. So we added a small monitor, made a change order and added a small monitor in the witness station. And then the other big project we got going on that's very similar to that is down at the North Central Healthcare campus. We are getting close to being ready to install all the equipment in our new conference room suite. So we have a big conference room. Lance is probably excited to talk about this, so I'm probably stealing his thunder a little bit. We're very close to being done with the conference suite. When that's done, so all of those rooms will have TVs and video gear, Wi-Fi, and electronic room reservation system. They have all the wiring done, and the ceiling grid is in. The tiles are not. They're still finishing wiring on it. I think they were talking about hanging all the big monitors, TVs in all the conference rooms, I think in the next 2 weeks. The last I heard, they were hoping to be done around the 2nd week of August. And then the other project we have going on related to construction is the old nursing home has been remodeled, and all of the all of the outpatient and administrative pieces of North Central are moving into that. And they should start moving in finance and administration people the second week of August. So my team's been over there making sure all that equipment's ready to go. And those moves, I just walked through it Monday. Looks great. They still have a couple weeks worth of work to do, but they're getting pretty close. So it's summertime, and it seems like summertime for us is always a lot of physical projects and a little less software projects.
Very good, thank you for that. Any questions or comments from anyone? No, you hit it out of the park, Jerry. Thanks, bud. All right, then moving on to item 7D, Coalition Against Bigger Trucks update. Kevin.
Okay. Coalition Against Bigger Trucks is basically a conglomeration of organizations that oppose raising axle weights that are allowed on trucks. Right now, there is a bill that's coming forward that would allow on the national and the federal side to raise the maximum weight of a truck from 80,000 to 91,000 pounds. So it's a 14,000 pound increase. And they're asking for a 10-year pilot on this. So WCHA is partnering with they're in support of Coalition Against Bigger Trucks for this to limit that and maintain that at 80,000. The risk that we see on our system is bridges are the obvious big first item that's out there. And then as well as pavements too, the additional axle weights have a lot of wear and tear. Like the best analogy for pavements is similar to you could take a 1 pound weight and move it 100 times real easy, or have it land on you 100 times real easy. If you have a 100 pound weight hit you once, you feel that a lot more, and pavements are kind of the same thing. Those axle loads have an exponential load that goes out onto our pavement. So just want to give you guys an update on that, and I guess any questions, discussion on it. Otherwise, there is a online petition that's kind of open to anybody to support that goes out to the legislatures on it.
Any questions or comments? Supervisor Robinson.
I know in the past, the county has taken a stand in support of the Coalition Against the Bigger Trucks for those very reasons.
Any additional comments, questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Chair Gibbs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was at the annual NACO conference, and NACO is also supportive of the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks, and I think last year or the year before, they circulated a petition against the bill for the larger trucks, and had a significant number of counties and county officials and elected officials sign on to that petition.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments? All right, well, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question.
Go ahead, Supervisor Hardinger. Thank you.
I'm just curious what the push for the weight increase is, what the reason behind that is.
I think the weight increase is probably just tied in a shortage of CDL drivers and the ability to move more product with one trip.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
All right, anything further? All right, hearing none. Thank you for that update. Moving on then, item 8, next meeting date and time, announcements and future agenda items. Committee members are always asked to bring ideas for future discussion. You can state those here if you have them, or you can email them, however you like to do that. Okay. Moving on then to item B, next meeting is Thursday, September 7th. Yes, Supervisor Robinson.
Could I know that there was a number of new initiatives in the budget. One was for the ag transportation program. And are there any possibilities that the county could use some of those dollars? Maybe we could get a update on what the 2023 through 25 state budget what opportunities might be created through that budget at a future meeting. You've got the LRIP, you've got the AgRIP or whatever, ARIP, whatever, the new program. Are there opportunities for the county? I think some of our county trunk highways that have less vehicles per day might be eligible for that. So if we could look at that and identify any potential projects that we might have, if there's an opportunity to capture some additional state funds, that might be worthwhile looking at.
Thank you for that, duly noted. All right, then, next meeting is Thursday, September 7th at 9 a.m. Moving on to item 9, looking for an adjournment. We have a motion by Supervisor Robinson, a second by Supervisor Straub. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Have a good day.
John, what is